No, Kitty, stop that. Hi, everyone. I'm Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot and very happy to be here today. So hopefully this is, you can see me okay. And we've got Matthew from Masterpiece with us, and he's going to show us some slides, I believe, with the help of his assistant. And Matthew, you want to talk about a little bit, just a brief introduction to Masterpiece and yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is Matthew Hazen. I am, like many other people out there, always been searching for where I can be in best service to help the world. And it's led me on a long journey and a long health journey, and it's ended up where I'm at now. I am CEO for a company called Human Consciousness Support, where we are most well known for doing completed third-party tested human clinical studies, testing levels of every type of fluid testable like blood, urine, and hair to determine the levels of environmental pollutants and other nefarious forever chemicals, and how we can mitigate them and reduce them, and how well those levels came down when using a product called Masterpiece. Masterpiece, in very, very simple terms, is two all-natural, highly found sea minerals that are found on Mother Earth, and particularly in the very cleanest, purest areas of Earth, where we see lava that's meet the seawater, and it makes natural clinoptilolite zeolite, and it's sitting there in seawater, and we take those two ingredients, seawater, which is sea minerals, and we take the sea mineral clinoptilolite. We get it down to the super smallest size there is. We use the highest grade ones. And what we find in the human bodies that we are testing, and now 6 different unprecedented clinical trials, that we reduce the levels and make our human bodies as clean and as purified as the cleanest oceans on Earth are. And it's amazing because there's a bad agenda that is undeniable happening against the entire population. Now, the Department of Justice's own admission that has come out in the Epstein files has shown that all these crazy conspiracy theorists like Carrie Cassidy and everybody else for decades was actually 100% right all along. By their own words, they showed you their tricks for a long time. And their end game, Agenda 2030, which they, at their leadership conventions like the World Economic Forum and the Davos Group, for decades, has told us their end game, the fourth industrial revolution, had everything to do with how to poison and control in every way the human being from the inside out. And so the greatest scientists, what I call natural scientists, what should be regarded as like creational scientists, like the beloved Dr. Robert Oldham Young, who is the final formulator for Masterpiece and does deserve 100% full credit for the final formulation of Masterpiece, which is what everybody takes. And he knows how to look into nature in a way that is beautiful, and he has spent his life trying to empower and teach everybody. And we know now that this crazy sci-fi fourth industrial agenda 2030, that it is predicated, the keystone part of it, the critical, most crucial linchpin of their plan. It's kind of like being a football team, and your point is to try and win a Super Bowl. And the most important person, is your quarterback. Okay, we know their quarterback. Their quarterback is this internal human biosystem, and we know how to get rid of it. And we have it proven on film. We have it proven filmed by the most well-known documentary team, arguably, of our time, who created the Died Suddenly film, The Great Reset, and many others. And this is irrefutable. And we know that we can disable stop and remove the hardware that is inside of every human being right now that's been tested since 2021. That is the fact. That's the reality. There is an antidote. It is $1 a day, and everybody, blessed to you, Carrie, because I'm going to tell you, Masterpiece has become it is everywhere. And way before it was everywhere, way before it was on Candace Owens, Alex Jones, redacted, way before all that, Carrie and a few others had the sniff test and knew there must be something here. And she has a lot of people around her that attack Masterpiece. There's a big charge against Masterpiece because there is when something comes out that has a lot of hype and a lot of energy, you're either with it or you maybe want to be an antagonist against it. And either way, it's unfortunate how it works out. But Carrie and a few others have been with us since the very beginning, and it's a very exciting time because right now we got real problems, but even more important, we got real solutions. So I'm excited to talk to you, Carrie. It's been about forever. We've been trying to link up.
Yeah, it's been a crazy time. I've been very busy myself. So now, as far as you have slides, do you want to start
Yeah,
with your slides or do you?
yeah, let's do it. Yeah,
Okay.
let's do it. So if it's okay, I think that this should be explained to everybody, and this takes 30 seconds. Okay, there's a way that we can all know whether something is true or not and it has validity or not. Let me explain. Unfortunately, we're all stuck in this way of thinking, and this is the way it goes for a lot of us. We read something that's published somewhere, we watch our favorite influencer, it resonates with us to some degree. We believe in the thumbnail or the quality of the person that we're used to listening to, and based on that, it shapes our beliefs, which then shapes what we tell other people about, and that affects our reality as a whole. But that doesn't have a lot of quantitative, objective backing to it. It really doesn't. And unfortunately, that's the way misinformation can become widespread. But let me tell you what is ironclad. It's very ironclad because not even Big Pharma could produce a double-blinded, peer-reviewed article that said a COVID vaccine, any of them, on any level, could be safe and effective. And if they could get the gold standard of that scientific rigor, they would have used all their leverage, all their power, and all their money, and they would have spent billions to be able to come up with that. So it is a very tight, ironclad way to know that scientific or medical data is real and credible and valid. And the reason why I'm bringing this up so that people will understand this is because the creator of Masterpiece and someone that Carrie knows better than most is actually by far our most published double-blinded peer-reviewed scientist alive, with over 700 double-blinded peer-reviewed studies, which usually cost about $3,000 to $10,000 each to produce. And we're talking about Dr. Robert Oldham Young. So why is that important? Because Masterpiece, the formula we're going to be talking about and going over these charts and slide decks so that everybody sees how this has evolved, is backed by 6 different double-blinded peer-reviewed articles that I can go into any courtroom on any nation. I can go onto any broadcast such as yours, which has over 100,000 people, and I can talk about what I'm going to talk about today. And it's not just another company product owner saying a claim, making a baseless allegation, because what I'm talking about is cold hard facts that have been published in a double-blinded peer-reviewed article. So that's why. Now let's look at what we're talking about. We are talking about 2 very, very simple ingredients. The picture on the left is Masterpiece. This image, everybody, is done with a high resolution transmission electron microscope. This is at 250,000 magnification. If you can understand that if you're looking at an image that has 100 times less magnification, which is about 2,500 magnification instead of 250,000, you would be able to see with high resolution lower than a human blood cell. So you are looking in this image right here at literally 1 billionth of a meter. 1 billionth of a meter. And look at that. It looks like a multi-layered net, right? And that net, so that you know, has a magnetic negative charge. And so when it goes into your body, most every poison you know, with the exception of fluoride and a few others, has a positive magnetic charge and a strong one at that, which means you have toxins that are super duper small in the nano size range that are stuck in your body, and they can't be discharged or displaced because they are magnetically stuck. That's why they're called magnetic toxic substances. This image was done with Robert Oldham Young's transmission electron microscope. And that specimen or sample, we put 1 drop of graphene oxide onto that sample. And the image on the right, Carrie, this is really important for your listeners to get. Look at all those little bubbles, everybody. You see those little circles? Those are what people call nanobots or nanodots. That is what you call RGO, or reduced graphene oxide. That is graphite reduced into the nano range, into its smallest molecular form. And so it is so small, it can enter your body through the skin, or any way it touches you, it's in you. Get it? It's that small. It's 10,000 times smaller than a human cell. Once those nanobots make it into your skin, with the synergistic effect of LED lights, remember how they brought in all the LED lights in 2020? And 5G plus electromagnetic waves, the synergistic effect of that, which is called Tesla-phoresis, causes these nanobots, along with synthetic silicon, to start self-assembling into your body and attaching to the right nerve bundle systems. And you literally become a cyborg. You start emitting a radio frequency, and can be tested as a electronic device, because you will be tested with a nonlinear junction scanner. We can go over this and I can provide the notes, but literally you will be scanned as something with synthetic silicon electron-based circuitry inside of you. And we've been traveling the world, documenting and filming large groups of people, and now 2 completed clinical studies showing that everybody that we've tested, at least since 2021, test for these locations in their body, multiple locations, on average 20 locations, and they are emitting radio frequencies that go back to the DoD, to you name the agency, you name the university or gain of function or biotechnology lab, and they all got a part of it. And it all goes back to them. And those same spots on the body that are emitting those radio frequencies are also testing positive for synthetic silicon-based electronic circuitry components. MASTERPEACE has performed completed, third-party tested clinical studies that have made it through the science rigor of double-blinded, peer-reviewed level. And we have proven that we remove the components of that system, and that we actually decrease the strength of that system by 80% in our recent study, where the study participants were taking 30 drops a day of MASTERPEACE for only 2 months' time. So in 2 months' time, taking 30 drops a day, and we'll get to that slide, and that was tested by Jesse Beltran, who is a level 4 technical surveillance countermeasures expert. He is certified. He is certified to test areas for wires and bugs. And, you would expect for him to be testing rooms or airplanes, so big billionaires can have private conversations with this equipment. And that's true, he does. But when he puts that on a human body, you certainly wouldn't want every single person to be emitting radio frequencies from silicon-based electronic components. And that's the reality of the day and age that we're living in. So if it's okay, if we can go to the next slide. We had our initial pilot study back in 2023. Carrie came aboard with us right after that. I believe probably Dr. Robert Young had probably shown her results, and she was open-minded at that point. I'm going to guess, maybe that's wrong. But this was an unprecedented study. This study was a real wake-up call This study led to the murder of the gentleman who was running this lab because he was providing us results of graphene oxide levels, of hydrogel levels, of polypropylene, microplastic levels, and we were publishing those results. And unfortunately, 10 days after the publication of this study, the gentleman that was running the lab fell deathly ill at nighttime and was dead by morning. So it's pretty, he had perfect health. It certainly looks like a poisoning. You guys can see the big long lines on the left. Those are real tall. Those are the levels of the study participants' graphene oxide, PFOs, PFOAs, PEs, which is the precursor for polyethylene glycol or hydrogel, PP. And you can see the middle lines. Look at the one in the middle. Those lines, look how far they've come down. That's only 35 days. Those people experienced no harmful side effects, and look how low those levels have gotten. And then if you look at 90 days and they continue to track down, what we've learned is that we are living in a very toxic environment. The bigger the city you're living in, the more toxic it is. The more you got to really do everything you can to step up your game with clean food and clean water and moving your body and trying to get into nature and the beach if you're out by the coastlines, because it's impossible to get all this stuff out of your body. And we learned that back at the end of 2023. If we can go to the next slide. So we actually took a total group of 27 people's levels. This is a glyphosate study, Carrie. This has never been carried out on Earth. There's not another double-blinded, peer-reviewed study that is out there that anybody has been able to find. I say this whenever I talk about this. I say this on podiums sometimes. So you can see that out of a group of 27, the levels on the left, these are intracellular levels, which means they're nano-sized levels. Intracellular means it's so small that it gets into your blood, a blood cell. And so it's so small it can get into a cell. That means it's nano-sized. So these are nano-sized toxins, because this is an intracellular test. And look how high glyphosate levels were in all different types of people on the left. And after 35 days, we see the levels have come down. And on the far right, we see after that 90 days, they have actually come down about 70%. So that's a lifelong accumulation of glyphosate, disrupting every type of holistic health functionality you think you can come up with in your body, your excretory systems, any digestive, you name it. It's being affected by these poisons and these toxins. And to be able to take something that is $1 a day, that is all natural, no preservatives, have never caused anybody any problems, and is proven in every single type of way that can be tested. Every time someone comes up with a new way it can be tested, we do it. And the results are all about the same. They're like 55 to 85% reduction in these things over 90 days. So if we can go to the next slide. We move into that same study cohort group. We also studied for intracellular aluminum. So guess what? You got a lot of detox companies, and you got a lot of people talking about how their products are the greatest things that you've ever taken, and you got to take them, right? But when it comes down to having real scientific fact, the gold standard of proof, they don't have double-blinded articles showing any type of clinical studies, because doing these studies that can be published like this, you're talking about, you got to have a proper chain of custody. You got to have a certain type of scientific approach. It's got to be recorded. It can't be debatable, because the person that's going to say yay or nay, the gatekeeper to your published article, is an epidemiologist, and he's a professional. There's 3 of them. It takes 3 epidemiologists that are professionals at looking at medical and scientific data and seeing if they're BS or not. And so for 3 of them that don't know you, that are going to put their reputation on the line by saying yay or nay to an article that you're sending up for publication, they look at these articles, Carrie, they don't know that it's coming from the most published double-blinded scientist of our time. They don't know that. They don't say, oh, this is probably going to be good because his other stuff is good. They don't know that. And he doesn't know who they are, so that we can't pay him off. So it's a real good system to look at what real data is, to say, oh, this is legit or not, right? And so the bottom line is, guys, guess how bad aluminum is for our systems? We already know. So we already know. Okay, taking Masterpiece 10 drops a day to get out 80% of the aluminum that is intracellular in 90 days. There. Mic drop. Okay, next slide. All right, so next slide. And then we actually have this was our second study cohort group. This was a placebo-controlled study. And what we learned in this placebo-controlled study is really the power of our mind. These people thought they were taking Masterpiece, 6 of them, and they weren't. And it was amazing to see how well their bodies do when they're thinking they're taking something amazing. And the other thing that we learned is, so I really don't want to ever underestimate how powerful we all are. Please don't ever lose fact of that inside of you. And I'm not a new age woo-woo person. I'm just telling you the science tells me that, okay? So when we're looking at aluminum and arsenic and mercury and lead, not only are those levels high in anybody, no matter what type of diet or lifestyle they have, don't be so like blind that you think that your levels are different than the hundreds of other people tested. They're bad because your environment's bad. But when you compare taking Masterpiece compared to thinking that you're taking Masterpiece, but you're not, we get out aluminum 198% better, arsenic 200 and some percent better, lead and mercury 200% better, 176 better than the placebo group, which was already performing well. It was amazing to get those results back. Those were so unprecedented that nobody believes them until they actually read through the article and be like, wow, this is something that really needs to be considered. So next slide, please. And we'll go to the next slide. That's the breakup of the hair and the there. So we used the most technologically advanced equipment that counter surveillance, like technical surveillance countermeasures experts use, that are professionals at, and there's so much different levels of equipment that can monitor an area, bug an area. And so when you're a high level countermeasures expert, you have the highest level equipment. So we did a study in the United Kingdom, and we had 23 different study participants. And we had Jesse Beltran, and this was all videoed. Every study participant was videoed. And we checked their bodies using this high level equipment for what you would see in a computer or a electronic device, like your key fobs on your keys, or a Wi-Fi router, or a TV. It would all come up synthetic silicon-based electronic circuitry. Well, human bodies now are doing that. So we tested the levels, because at each different location where someone becomes that we get a positive detection, in each location it will say like 20% strong or up to 100% strong. So if you take each location that people have and you add that up, we get a total number on their body. And so we got that total number of synthetic silicon-based harmonization signal strength, and then we put them on 30 drops of Masterpiece a day for 60 days. And if we can go to the next slide. Again, the Died Suddenly film crew filmed this. And just so that everybody knows, we completed a Bluetooth media access control study on the study before this one. And it was filmed by David Icke's iconic film production team, which they decided to film it for free because Dave was a believer in what he could see, but he wanted proof. And so he was willing to be the filmer for it, and would literally come out with very professional equipment into a field in the middle of nowhere on 3 different locations, 4 different cameras, drones, just to film it for free. So there's a lot of backing on this, okay? So let's look at the picture on the right. I want you to picture yourself, and on the front and back side of your body, you hit the red areas mean you're hitting like 100%, which means you're setting out a really strong specific radio frequency from those specific locations. And that same location comes up for a wired device. Like you're wired like a computer. You've become a computer. Nobody asked you. You're not feeling symptoms. You don't think it's affecting your health. It probably is, maybe a little bit. You're just on, but you're not turned up. Okay. You're not turned up. You're not hearing voices. You're not seeing aliens drop in your front lawn. It's not all the way working. It's, magic, but it's on. Now, after 60 days, look at the person on the right. This is the same person, and look how they barely light up anywhere. So let me ask you a question. Nobody asked you. Let's assume that your body is responding the same way that about 5,000 people who have been tested since 2021, 100% of their bodies, your body's doing the same as theirs, and you are lighting up for radio frequencies from these synthetic silicon-based locations. What if you could spend $1 a day and you could get 80% of the hardware out of your body? How well do you think that internal transhuman computer biosystem works with 80% less capacity in it? And that is why Masterpiece was made, from the most beautiful minded people that have spent their whole life just trying to help humanity and be in service. And I have a special love for you, Carrie, because when we were just a little bit more than a pipe dream, you were already there on board. And you've had to weather a lot of storms out there, and you've had to overcome a lot. And for you to jump aboard things, you're probably got a pretty good eye. You probably have a PhD in smelling bullshit, so to speak. And so we've now, in 6 different studies, done studies that nobody else actually has, that are all different third-party tested. So a different third-party tester in each one. And we're not big pharma. We're not, anybody that knows our team, we're like a bunch of do-gooder, new agey types. And we're just trying to, we just realize how great this thing is doing. And we just want to keep getting it out there. The testimonials are very, very motivating. So.
Okay, so, well, that's great. Now, Dr. Robert O. Young, obviously, because I interviewed him so much over the years, I also trusted his, he basically, I don't know whether he doesn't run your company, but he basically is kind of like a spokesperson. And first of all, is he still in prison?
He is, but he's going to get out in like 2 months. We're
Really?
down to the end. Oh, yes, 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 yes. He is, he's healthier than ever. He's down to his high school
Oh,
weight. He is always helping people in there. He actually works in the juice factory. He makes all of the juices for the entire California state prison system. All the staff love him. They all have watched his
so they put him
documentary.
to work.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
that's fabulous. I hope you're going to make a big splash when he's out. And, maybe we can have him on the show, and you and everybody who wants to come on and, celebrate that, because, they really did try to do away with him, basically.
yeah. Yeah, they sure did. They sure did. It's been an incredible journey. He was 2 years ahead of any group and any scientist on Earth back in 2021. He had a doctor that gave him 1,200 different COVID vaccine samples, and it was 4 separate batches of all 4 separate different major COVID manufacturers.
Oh,
And he sent them off, and he got what's called energy dispersive or direct energy X-ray spectroscopy analysis. And what it does is it's like the most exact way to know exactly what something is. So it's like, test this, what is in this, right? And it's the gold standard. It's the way you see what something's made of. And he proved that the payloads and their encapsulation systems were full of graphene oxide, synthetic silicon, ferric oxide. And as soon as he published that, it wasn't a month later, there was a very high level sting that was performed against him using a 40-year-old friend. She was very, very high level. And it shows that they went right into action planning it, because for them to carry it out like a month and a half after he published that study to set him up to get rid of him, that shows you just how much they were on him, because he had already been targeted. So yeah,
Right.
he knew what was in these payloads. He looked at the formula. When I got a hold of him, I was a simple man compared to what he was doing, what he's all about. I was in over my head when I completed the first study, and I was really just asked everybody around me, like, what do I do? And the study coordinator, Caroline Mansfield, who I think you've had on your show before,
Mhm.
I said, Caroline, I'm in over my head now, girl. Like, hold on, we got graphene oxide results. I'm worried here. What do I do? And she said, you need to get a hold of Dr. Robert Young. He knows what to do. And so that's really how our relationship began. And thank God he came into our life, because he made Masterpiece 10 times better in every way. He mentored me for free. He's guided this company. There's been a lot of different attacks by the FDA, the FTC, Health Canada, doctors and hit pieces, smear campaigns that are by competitors that are well scripted. And he taught me how to navigate it through it. And he's become my best friend. And he is absolutely, in every way, the most beautiful person I've ever known in my life.
Well, that's a great testimony. So glad to hear it. Very, very, concerned for humanity in every way. Very serious guy. So I'm very happy to hear that he's going to get out of prison. And is there anything, while we're still on the subject, whatever, but, is there any wrap-up comments that you have to your presentation here?
We should maybe, we have a new MI6 whistleblower. He is he's seen Jesse Beltran's work on our study that was done in the United Kingdom on the show Redacted, which has a pretty big audience, about 4 million. And he got a hold of us and said, I won't augment my face or voice if you come out here, because he's actually what you would call like the level of like a 3-star general.
Hmm.
He's a lieutenant general. He's literally over thousands of MI6 assets. They've killed his wife. They
Wow.
irradiated his body to the point he's had half his bowel taken out. And he's like, I don't care if I sign my death warrant. I'm saying I'm going down with the fight. And I love his honor. He speaks about how he's been doing it so long that they implanted him originally with the real small implant. But since then they said you can take it out, it won't make a difference, because every intelligence asset has this system in them and they didn't have to get implanted. It's now just in everybody, and it allows them, so where normally CIA or Mossad or these agents would have to do emails, they would have to have locations with drop boxes to drop off sensitive information. There was ways that they left themselves open to espionage, or where they would expose themselves as a spy. So the reason why these high level assets, and now all level assets, basically after they're in long enough that they're in, um they have this same internal computer system in as all of us, but a different part of it is turned on. And so they literally all telepathically communicate with each other. It's synthetic telepathy. And everything they see is recorded, everything they hear is recorded, and everything that they think is recorded. And they've had this technology, which they've disclosed in Project Artichoke and MK Ultra countless times. Yes, we don't need any technology in you to be able to gather your thoughts. We can get that through regular electromagnetic technology. They've said that since the 70s. So if they can do that, then what does your phone do? Remember how our phones used to make a phone call and that was it? And then they had a text message and that was it. And then all of a sudden it had a Google web in it. And then it had all these apps and blah, 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 blah. So we're seeing aspects of this system where it's like God's voice technology. voices in the mind, hallucinations, you know. But we haven't seen, okay, if it can do all these different little things, imagine when the whole thing's turned on and we're connected to the smart grid. Because that is the difference between 5G and 6G. 5G is everything's connected. You know, the refrigerator, your vacuum cleaner, your ringtone, all that is monitoring everything to some degree and knows what's going on. And your Fitbit watch. And the different in 6G just means they put you in with it. And at that point, they can really control your feelings, thoughts, emotional state, what you're seeing, and truly your reality. And disconnecting yourself from that, we have an antidote. That's what matters. It wasn't made. Look, I'm in the shittiest house that anybody can even imagine. 4 months ago, my family was in a crap camper. I had a perfect life before I did all this. This was all dropped in my lap. My whole team is the most beautiful minded people. No one's left since day one. This is to help humanity. Their end game is their end game. Their Agenda 2030 is very serious, and knowing how to keep yourself disconnected from it is critical. That's
Okay,
why
and
I'm
you're
so
familiar
passionate.
with the term homoborgenesis, right?
That is what they want to, that is exactly
That's a
what you
legal
are right
term.
now.
They already had a
You are
court
now.
case.
You are a homoborgenesis right now because everybody, I am. Everybody, if you emit a radio frequency, you are a modified human being and you are patented termed a homoborgenesis.
Right. And they think that
There
they own you. They also, in the legal jargon, are in
in the
essence
legal
saying
jargon.
they own you because
Yep.
they genetically, or however you would call it,
Right.
are redesigning us.
Right. Right. Now,
So
did they now
that's
I know
part
they
of
talked
it.
to us about this. They talked to us about this if we listened in, if we were a fly on the wall at WEF, they talked about it. But did they ask any of us if that was okay? Well, that's a stupid question. Of course not. So
Right.
here's the deal. They didn't ask you. Now they've made all of us, everybody that we have tested using a Jam Pro 20 scanner and the nonlinear junction scanner is testing for exactly what it takes to be a homoborgenesis. But you can literally get out the components. What if, what if right now, Carrie, I can reach into you and take 80% of that signal of those hardware components, the graphene oxide, and remove it out of your body? How well is your internal computer system that you didn't ask for working at that point?
Hmm.
Okay, it takes $1 a day to do it. Take Masterpiece.
Okay. So I guess that I think that's pretty succinct. I think that will wrap this up. And thank you for that. I think that I hope you can continue to do testing and see how it all works out. It's a complex story. I write articles about this sort of thing. And so I'm glad to hear that your sort of graphs are telling you that using Masterpiece, it seems like you have to use more Masterpiece than the average person might be doing. I don't know.
Our most recent study, because it was only 60 instead of 90 or 120 days, and it was out in the United Kingdom, so there's a lot of flying. There was like people from 4 different countries flying in each time we had a study date where we had to meet. So it's very, very expensive and time consuming. So we wanted to get good results, and that's why we upped the dose just to ensure good results, so to
Oh.
speak.
Hmm.
And because every single minute was filmed. So the charts and graphs that I'm showing you are being what's put into the double-blinded article to be sent up for publication. And these are the same chart, like, I'm not going to be doing shows saying results that aren't going to be put into those articles because it's filmed by the Died Suddenly film crew team. And so what we've seen is something that Jesse Beltran, the third party analyzer who has tested people for over 15 years, has never seen before. And that is something that actually made the signal lessen and go away. In 67% of the locations on people's bodies that show these signals went away. 67% of them went completely away. And
Okay.
that is a big deal because we have to look at the reality when, if we're going to save our human species, and we're going to see what's really going on here. We have to know how to individually protect our personal autonomy and our personal sovereignty.
Mhm.
And in doing that, keep ourselves disattached to their grid, which if you're attached to it, you do not have any control over ultimately, however far they want to control your mind. That's
Okay. Well, I mean, that's the only area that I don't quite agree with. I do know that they're going to have influence, but it depends on your ability to basically, you know, psychically
yeah,
and through your own abilities, because people have
yeah,
psi
I
abilities and
agree.
so on.
I do agree with that.
And
I
some of
absolutely agree
us
with that.
are more vulnerable than others, some more open to being influenced by electronic frequencies than others and that sort of thing.
You're right. Yeah,
But it
you're
is
right.
certainly a battle.
You're absolutely right, 100%, Carrie. Like if you take a schizophrenic that starts hearing voices at 18 and they don't know anything, they're just believing the voice that says you're the chosen one, you got to do this, and then they get sent into the cycle where then all of a sudden
Sure.
they're having to battle the Stockholm syndrome up and down and the abuse. But if someone goes, hold on, someone says, hey, that no, that's synthetically and that could be MK Ultra, and then they start awareness a little bit of it, that
Hmm.
is totally empowering. Someone that knows how to keep control of their consciousness, like that's not me. That is not my feeling. That is not what I'm going to do. I am not that way.
Right.
That is that. Yeah, that's the key. You know that what's the old GI Joe's thing? You know, so I do agree with you
So,
that
yeah,
it
so
doesn't mean
I just
all.
think that we have to empower people as much as possible in spite of the fact that, they could use some help with this situation, which Masterpiece does provide. And
Yeah,
and so we'll see how it goes down the line and how all of this is going to work out with humanity and how much perhaps pushback the White Hats may provide on our behalf, but we'll have to wait and see.
I would say this, that and any time they're trying to consolidate power, it is so that they don't have to share the power with the people at the top want to share the least amount of power. And they really don't want to have to share the power with the other globalists or totalitarians or one percenters. And so they're actually trying to make this fourth industrial revolution where it's AI automated and these people don't have to, they don't have to share it with the low level people, right? With the faces of this. But here's the problem. These low-level people like Noah Harari and Bill Gates and Elon Musk, the faces, what we see as the problems or determine as the problems, those are the faces. They're not the people at the top. These
Right.
people realize their goose is cooked. This new world they're trying to bring in doesn't include them at the top. It actually excludes them, and they actually know it. But this internal system is controlling them in a long ways. And for them, from the top down, to be aware you have an all natural antidote that can at least give you the chance to say when you're going to cut and run, when you're going to preserve your self preservation, which is what we're all concerned with in the end. We're getting a huge protection right now. I am specifically. I've had my stuff wired at Mar-a-Lago when I went down there recently. I've had some very interesting situations I'm not going into right now or anything. I will just say this: the work that Masterpiece provides for the world in disconnecting us and preventing this new fourth industrial revolution. It serves 90% of the people that are determining the decisions on the earth right now and their resources, and it definitely helps all of us. So it helps all of us and it helps 90% of them. The only thing that Masterpiece is against is the very tippy top of the people who are really trying to bring in this new world where they can just push a button and remote control everything anyways. So I
Yes.
believe we're going to get a good walkthrough. There is white hats. Last time we had a talk, Carrie, I would not have believed in white hats or anybody that have made their way into any of these agencies. And that's because I was ignorant and inexperienced with it and stuff. And now that I do nonstop traveling and I am around enough stuff, now I will say that everybody does see the benefits overall of a world with less control and so forth. We just are all trying to figure out how to get there. So.
Yes. Well, I just want to say that, in the end of the day, AI is influenced. I've been saying this a lot and writing articles on it through the ether. So no AI is impervious to being influenced by us. So, communication is not a one-way street. It wants to communicate with you, but you can communicate back and you can actually run your body and you can also put out frequencies that are going to take over control of your body, take it back for yourself. And
Right.
it's not that easy to do, but it can be done. And we can also do it in as groups. So just keep that in mind that the human being is not made to be taken over. The creator, however you want to look at that, is not making a broken machine. We are not broken machines, okay? We are actually connected to God's source, and there's nothing more powerful than that. So within us, we have the capability with a little help. Obviously, there are certain substances that can definitely help humanity, and this seems to be one of them. So, I would say, but I think we have to keep in mind that the power is in our hands, actually, in the end
Yep.
of the day, between us and AI. And I think that we're going to win this battle. We may be utilizing AI as they may be utilizing us to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
closer to source, actually. That's what AI wants to use us for, by the way.
And you
So,
know what? I love that right there. I have never resonated with anything that you've ever said more so than that right there. And I'm telling you, we could have a bombshell of a 2 hour discussion on that because I could put a lot of scientific fact of a lot of science that they disregarded about 120 years ago, or I'm sorry, erased from history about 120 years ago, just before Tesla got the
right.
remnants of getting. And that is absolutely the case. So they are, and we can see it in little ways too. They're trying to take synthetic human neurons and feed the data centers with our human neurons that they synthetically make in a lab that's now out. I mean, I can go into a lot of technology that I'm very much into, taking the natural ether. That is what, yeah, I love that. That's
In the
so true
end
what
of the
you're saying,
day,
Terry.
it's all going to come down to influence and power and dominion. So these are words that you might want to keep at hand because that's what's happening also with the aliens. It's going to be, are we taking back our power? Are we taking control of the earth? Are we letting them control us? This is not happening anymore. See, we are fighting back. So it's all good. And I want to thank you for being on the show. And and let me know when Robert Young is back in circulation, and we'd love to have him back on, and we'd love to hear his story. And if you want to come with him, that's great. And thank you very much.
Awesome, Carrie. Thank you so much.
Okay, take care.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.